once you can see this. So can you see
Yep.
the presentation up there now?
Yeah, that's amazing, James. Thank you so much. Yeah, I will hand over to you now. Thank you very much for that.
Excellent. Thanks, Kate. So afternoon, everyone. Thanks for coming along to this session. So essentially, this is just a little bit of an introduction to the civil service, and I am coming at this from an organisation within the Fast Stream called the Fast Stream Social Mobility Network. So to begin with, just to give you a little bit of information about myself, I am currently a fast streamer in my second year. I've just recently started a post working at the Home Office, more specifically working in the Passport Office. And previous to this, I had spent the last year, so the first year of my posting, working in the Department for Health and Social Care. And I was working on the response to COVID-19. More specifically within that, I was working within the shielding policy team. So this was the team that was responsible for all of those individuals who were classed as clinically extremely vulnerable and may have had to shield during their time during the pandemic because they were at the highest risk of serious illness from COVID-19. To give you a little bit of a idea about my sort of journey and my experiences before getting onto the fast stream, I came from a slightly sort of non-typical background, quite a lot. So I left school at 16, didn't do any A-levels, actually spent some time in my teenage years, just under a year homeless. Following that, worked in a number of jobs, sort of didn't really get any satisfaction from it, just bounced around from place to place. Finally, sort of late 20s, decided that I wanted to go back to university. So I took part in an access course. Following that, I studied politics at the University of Liverpool. And from there, I have then sort of applied and was successfully managed to get myself onto the fast stream. I come from a very sort of working class background, and it is pretty atypical of some of the people who that you'd usually sort of see on the fast stream. So as I've come from a bit of a working class background, I decided that I wanted to get involved with an organisation within the civil service called the Fast Stream Social Mobility Network. And as you can see there, it was established in 2016 to improve social mobility and inclusion within the fast stream. So we're aiming to increase the representation of people from lower socioeconomic backgrounds. This work is progressing. We are seeing more people enter the profession from these sort of backgrounds. But if you look at the statistics, you'll see that there are a lot of individuals who are coming from the likes of Oxford, Cambridge, places like that, and maybe not from it's maybe not fully representative of the entire population. And as you can see there, the network was recognised at the Social Mobility Awards, where it won the award for innovation for its work within the fast stream and wider civil service. So even though I am coming at this from a social mobility sort of angle, the rest of this presentation is actually, very applicable for anyone. So don't worry if you're not necessarily from a lower socioeconomic background. All the information that I'm going to present over the coming minutes is going to be, completely applicable to yourselves as well. So firstly, the first thing I want to go into is what is the civil service itself. So the civil service is there to support the government of the day to develop and implement its policies. So, if the government has made a manifesto commitment or a promise to the public that they then need to enact, the civil service is there ready to stand by to make sure that they can actually bring their visions to life as such. We are one of the largest employers within the UK, and, it's a job with perhaps unparalleled opportunities to actually make a real difference to society. And the person that you can see there is Simon Case. He is the Cabinet Secretary and he's essentially the head of the civil service, and he would report directly to the Prime Minister. When we think about what the civil service is, there's just under, I think it says there, 421,000. It might be slightly different now, but it's just under 500,000 people who work in the civil service. And as you can see there, it says that there are 24 ministerial departments. So they're things like the Department for Health, the Treasury, the Ministry of Defence, things like that. We've also got 20 non-ministerial departments. So you can see that in the middle column. That includes things like the Land Registry, HM Revenue and Customs. And you can also see there that there are also 409 agencies and other public bodies. So there's a massive variety of places that you can work within the civil service. It says there as well, what do civil servants do? As I said to you earlier, the scale, complexity and impact of the work that we do is unrivaled. There are a wide variety of jobs available within that, and some examples there, law, we have lawyers within the civil service, finance, accountants, things like that, policy work, which is where I was last year, communications, private office. So private office is where you work directly for a minister, or for someone like Chris Withy or someone like that. You would work in his office and help him on a day-to-day basis. Human resources, etc. When we think about where civil servants are based around the country, I think sometimes people can have an expectation that all of the jobs are going to be in London and going to be in Westminster. And as you can see here from this graph, there are more jobs in London than anywhere else, but generally, there's a pretty wide spread across the country. So perhaps, for yourselves, maybe in Edge Hill Uni, you might be more focused on jobs that are located in the northwest of England. And as you can see there, the main departments that are based up here are the likes of DWP, so the Department for Work and Pensions, HMRC, Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs, HMPPS, which is the prison service, and the Home Office. But you could be working anywhere in the country, or indeed you could be working abroad. So the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, you could work in an embassy or as a diplomat, in pretty much any country that the UK has diplomatic relations with around the world. So massive variety and a massive variety of opportunities of places that you can work. So what do civil servants do? As I maybe alluded to a little bit earlier, civil servants are expected to support the government of the day, which means that we have to remain impartial to political matters. So it doesn't matter if you support Labour, the Conservatives, the Lib Dems, whoever, regardless of your political leanings, your job is to work with whoever is in power. The idea being that regardless of your political beliefs, that you are impartial, and that what you do is you try and provide the best service to the taxpayer and to the general population. Our role is just factual and advisory, ensuring government policies work best for the public. So what will often happen is the governments will, have a manifesto commitment or have a policy that they want to enact, and we will then use our knowledge and our experience that we've gained to then present the options available to them and what we can do to bring their ideas to fruition. So moving on slightly to a bit more of the application sort of side of things, there are a number of ways that you can become a civil servant. I presume probably by the nature of this session that most of you are going to be mostly interested in the civil service fast stream. So to give a little bit of a brief overview, it is just a graduate scheme. It's between 2 and 4 years. It's classed as like a leadership development program. So as you go through the scheme, it will continually challenge you and stretch you, and hopefully it will try and build those leadership skills so that when you come out, you can be, a senior leader within the civil service. It says there that there's a blend of structured and on-the-job learning. So, it is the majority on the job, but, we'll have like the odd sort of session here and there where we'll learn about, advising ministers or drafting correspondence, things like that. There are up to 1,200 roles available each year. It is a pretty challenging thing to get on in some respects. I think last year about 60,000 people applied, so there is a really sort of high demand and a lot of competition for roles on this. And as I've already alluded to, it prepares you for a senior leadership role within the civil service. So the fast stream itself is made up of 15 different schemes that you can choose from. And in the application process, you can actually choose up to 4 schemes that you would like to apply for. I'll go into the schemes in a little bit more detail on the next slide. But yeah, some of them have like harder requirements to get into than others. So for instance, I applied to the generalist scheme, and to the diplomatic service scheme. And the diplomatic service scheme is harder to get onto. There are additional stages, and there's a lot of competition for those roles because of the nature of them. There's no upper age limit, so anyone can apply. You know, I applied to the fast stream as a mature student. I was about 30 when I applied, and you need just the minimum of a 2.2 degree for a lot of the schemes. There are some that do require a 2.1, I believe, and they're usually a bit more specialised and require you to have a degree in a specific subject. So, for instance, I think like a finance scheme would require you to have like an accountancy related thing. The starting salary fast streamers is £27,000 to £28,000 a year, which isn't bad, to be honest, getting straight out of uni into that. And then after 4 years, it's 3 years actually for a lot of fast streamers now, upon completion of the fast stream course, you would move into a role where you can be expected to earn between £45,000 and £55,000. The civil service fast stream has also been recognised now for 3 years on the bounce by the Times Employees of the Year. They have like a sort of, you know, a league table that they do, and the fast stream's been recognised as the #1 graduate employer now for 3 years running. So I think that really attests to how good it is viewed by graduates when they move into their future careers. So when I was talking about the different schemes that there are, there's just a list of them here. So the one I'm doing a generalist scheme. So that's it is what it says. It's pretty much a little bit of everything. It's not overly specified what you're going to go into, whereas the rest of the schemes are a little bit more specific about the type of work that you would be doing. So as you can see there's commercial, digital, data technology and cyber. You've got the diplomatic and development scheme, the diplomatic and development economical scheme, a finance scheme, the generalist one, which I've already described, the property scheme, the economic service, the operational research service, the social research service, the statistical service, the Houses of Parliament scheme, so that's where you would actually work in the Houses of Parliament on the site, HR scheme, project delivery and science and engineering. So as you can see there's a wide variety of roles, but for plenty of them, including the generalist and a number of others, you can go into it with any degree in any subject. So, you know, you don't need to worry about specifically having a politics degree or economics or whatever. So that's the list of the different schemes there. In terms of the application process, there are a number of stages to complete. So I think the important thing for yourselves to know right now is the application window is currently open. So it opened sort of late end of September, and the application process for the fast stream itself is open until the 22nd of October. So obviously if you're in your final year of university and you know you want to apply for, you know, as soon as you've graduated, then you know you need to get your application in with just over 2 weeks left. Obviously you can, once you've graduated, you can apply for the fast stream, you know, at any point. It doesn't have to be as soon as you've graduated. You could wait 10 years if you wanted. So in terms of the actual application process itself, first thing you do is fill out the application form. From there, you would be given a number of tests. So I think there's 2 tests initially, multiple choice ones. It's talking about like the ways that you work, things like that. You know, they always say to, you know, just be honest, be yourself when you answer these things. You know, actually think, what would you do in that situation? You'll get 5 days to complete those as well. From there, you would get the online work-based scenarios. So that's where you're placed into a role, you know, like a role-playing sort of exercise. You're placed into a role and you'll be given like a number of different challenges and you'll be asked how you would respond to each of those. And again, you've got 5 days to complete that. From there, if you're successful following that stage, there would be the video interview. So I think the video interview lasts for about half an hour. It contains 9 questions, and I think you get like a bit of a practice question at the start, so you can see, you know, how to sort of react to it. There are no follow-up questions, so I think for this stage, I think it would be really useful if you do get to it to really practice, you know, speaking just in front of a screen, because it can be a little bit disconcerting, you know, especially when no one's there speaking back to yourself, and just sort of really preparing how you would respond to each of those questions. From there, if you've been successful, you'd then move to something called the Fast Stream Assessment Centre. Now, this is a half-day long process. It'll either be in the morning or over the afternoon. And the assessment centres are based, well, they were based in either London or Newcastle, but I think since COVID, they have been taking place virtually. So, you'll be doing it at home. I think what happens now is you get access to an app, which will then contain all the materials that you would need to use on the day. The assessment centre itself is made up of 3 exercises. You've got like a written exercise, which is where you need to provide a fictional recommendation to like the minister, based on a lot of documentation that you need to work through, pull out the key information and present to them in a concise and clear way. There is the leadership exercise, which is where you take on the role of a team leader, speaking to your manager in turn, and they would be asking you questions about how you're going to resolve certain conflicts within the team, or certain projects that need to be delivered by certain deadlines, stuff like that. And then the final part of the assessment centre is like a team. It's like a team exercise. So everyone has each person is given a argument that they need to present, and we need to then try and get the group to come to a joint decision about which option they're going to take forward. So the whole point is that you need to try and make sure that your option is the one that is accepted. Although, to be fair, it's not really adversarial. So you're encouraged to bring other people in, try and build consensus. So it's not just like it's not really dog eat dog, trying to pit one person against the other. It's trying to have like an open and sort of transparent conversation with each other. And for a number of schemes, so for HR, commercial, finance, and the generalist, the Fast Stream Assessment Centre is the last stage. And if you're successful there, then you'd be offered a role. However, for the remainder of the schemes, there's something called a final selection board, which is just a bit more of like a formal interview where you'd be sat down and you might be asked slightly more specific questions related to the field of work that you're looking to go into. So I think the final selection board stuff for the diplomatic service will ask you some questions related to like if you have any language skills, because their roles are often based abroad, so they might try and see if you have any what skills you have, speaking different languages, things like that. So that's the different schemes, and that's a little bit of a sort of run through of the application process. And if you do want to apply, you can just see there the website's there, faststream.gov.uk. So coming at it from a slightly more social mobility related angle now, there are a couple of internships that are available to students, one of which I actually took part in myself. So the first one of these is called the Early Diversity Internship Programme, and it's an opportunity for those from diverse backgrounds to find out more about the civil service and the fast stream. So this is open to individuals who are from an ethnic minority background, to those who have a disability, and to those who come from a lower socioeconomic background. And I think that is based on the occupation of your highest earning parent when you were 14. It's a bit random, but yeah, that's how they decide based on the occupation. And as you can see there, of those who completed the internship in 2019 and were surveyed, 100% of the people recommended doing this course. So it's a 1-week placement in the spring. It's only for first year undergraduates from those groups that I've already described, and you're not paid specifically for it, but you'll have your expenses paid, so travel, food, things like that, so you won't be out of pocket. The next internship is something called the Summer Diversity Internship Programme, and this gives undergraduates in their final 2 years of university a taste of the civil service and the fast stream experience, and an opportunity to earn something called a fast pass. And so essentially what that is when you take part on the STIP, as it's called, if you perform satisfactorily and you complete the work that you've been given, you'll get something called a fast pass. And if we just go back to that application process, what that fast pass allows you to do is to skip the application form, the multiple choice online tests, the work-based scenarios, and the video interview, and you go straight to the Fast Stream Assessment Centre. So depending on which stream that you actually apply for, you might end up being right in at the final stage straight away. which is a massive advantage. You know, there's so many opportunities to maybe trip up, you know, to maybe just have a bad performance at one of the earlier stages. So to go straight through to the assessment centre, I think is a massive benefit. I took part in the STIP, and I would massively recommend it to anyone else who's thinking about it. It lasts for 6 to 9 weeks over the summer. Again, it's for those same groups that I described from the last internship. So ethnic minorities, those with a disability, and those from lower socioeconomic backgrounds. And you are paid and receive training. So I think you're paid around £300 to £350 a week, which, you know, is an all right wage, to be honest with you. When I took part in mine, I worked for the Department for Work and Pensions. I was based in Liverpool, but I was sort of all around the Merseyside area. And I was conducting research into how those with disabilities could get back into the workplace and could stay in the workplace. So that involved me going and actually conducting interviews with a wide range of people, and it was a really valuable experience. And like I say, getting that fast pass, I think without that, I doubt whether I would probably be sitting where I am now on the fast stream. So yeah, I really can't sort of promote it enough to yourselves. There are a couple of other ways that you can get into the civil service. There's something called direct entry. Basically, that just means just applying, just normally. So, you know, not via a graduate scheme. So, you know, you can go on the civil service jobs website, put, you know, the location that you want to search, the type of jobs, you know, the salary range, things like that. And, you know, there's plenty of jobs available. So, you know, if you decide either not to go through the fast stream, or, you know, you're not successful, try not to be too disheartened. There are plenty of other ways that you can still get into the civil service and still have a really sort of, you know, fruitful career, and you can easily work your way up, you know, to the same sort of degree that you can in the fast stream, you know, if you've got the right commitment and work ethic. I think the final way into the civil service is via apprenticeships. So they cover business administration, commercial, economics, policy, a few other areas as well. Available at a range of levels, so you can get, you know, I think there's some that start at sort of GCSE level, and they go all the way up to, I think it's postgraduate, so like master's degree level. You get on-the-job structured learning. Unlike the fast stream, some of these recruit throughout the year, whereas some are a bit more annual, like the fast stream is. And the ranges of salary that you can expect are probably somewhere in the region of 20 to 27k initially, and then obviously once you've passed the apprenticeship, you would then go on to the standard sort of level of wages at the different levels throughout the organisations. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of a sort of day in the life of the sort of, you know, a bit of an example of the sort of work that I've taken part in. I can't really do it for the work that I'm doing currently in the passport office, because I've only been here 2.5 days, so I'm still just getting my feet under the table. But with regards to my time in the Department for Health and Social Care, first thing I'd do in the morning, we'd often get MPs, so people from the House of Commons or the House of Lords, asking the government questions that would need to be answered. So they might ask the Prime Minister a question, or they might ask the Health Secretary a question, and we would need to provide, you know, the information and to write the answer for them, and they'd then be published online on the House of Commons website. I would then often send the Prime Minister a little bit of an update on what was happening in the world of shielding, so he's fully appraised, so he knows what's going on. From there, we would often have a number of conversations, a number of phone calls with people. So, you know, senior leaders in the NHS, you know, we might talk to we might be working with some senior clinicians, so people like Jonathan Van Tam, Deputy Chief Medical Officer for England, or Chris Whitty, the Chief Medical Officer for England. And then we might spend other parts of the day thinking about how we're going to update the guidance and how we're going to communicate that to just under 4 million people. It was when I was working there. So, you know, we'd have to liaise with printers. We would have to speak with people who work designing the gov.uk website about how we could get that updated. And we'd be working to sort of really tight timescales and doing work, you know, that give you a real sense of satisfaction, because you realise that, you know, it's going to be helping, like I say, just under 4 million people throughout the country, which for me just feels mad to even think about still. You know, it was only a few years ago. I was working in a shop, probably selling pens and pencils to people and stuff, and I think at the time I was a bit down because I didn't really think that had much of an impact. Whereas I think where I am now and the work that I've done, that, like I say, has helped millions of people, I think gives you a real sense of satisfaction. Yeah, and you get a real sense of enjoyment from doing it. So yeah, so that's a bit of a sort of typical day that you might get from myself, you know, working on guidance, working on sending correspondence out, dealing with MPs, dealing with ministers, sending things off to, you know, the Prime Minister, the Cabinet, etc. So that's a little bit of a brief run through. I hope you've enjoyed the presentation, and I'm happy to have a go at answering any questions that yourselves have got. If there's anything that I can't answer immediately, I will of course take it away, and I'll get back in touch with Kate with the answers once I've got them.
Oh, brilliant. Lovely. Thank you, James. That was amazing, and a really, really comprehensive overview, I think, of everything civil service and fast stream. So I thought that was brilliant. And like you said, I think the STIP is a great way of you know, kind of students accessing the fast stream and skipping a lot of that assessment process as well. So we have got a couple of questions in the chat and also some hands up as well.
Yeah.
So I'll go to hands up first. So Anthony Walker, I believe you've got your hand up. If you'd like to unmute yourself and ask a question, that would be great. If you want to do that now.
Yeah, sure. Hello. I have a question regarding like language skills, like because recently over the lockdown and this year I realized, oh, I quite like learning it. You know, it was pretty crap in school, but it's quite nice now. What roles are there like within the civil service that would allow me to, like, you know, cultivate and sort of, you know, take it as like a full-time role?
So I think the main one with a specific that will have specific requirements for language skills is the diplomatic service related schemes. The reason being is by the nature of the role, you would in a couple of years be a diplomat, and you would probably be working in some far-flung land, you know, could be anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
So for that reason, you know, that's probably going to be the best place if you wanted to cultivate your language skills. I think what they do as part of the test to get onto the diplomatic service scheme is they don't actually test if you can speak a language. They actually do a bit more of an abstract test that sees whether your brain can sort of comprehend how to pick up a new language. So that's something that I can't do. I am rubbish. You know, if someone tried to get me to learn a new language now, I wouldn't be able to do it. Whereas I think some people just have a bit of an innate ability to pick things up like that. And the tests that they provide to people in the application process are designed in such a way to see if you'd be any good at that. So if you're saying that's something that you're interested in, and you know, you've been doing a little bit of work on that already, then it might stand you in good stead if you did want to apply for something like the diplomatic service.
All right, ta, mate.
No worries.
Lovely. Thanks, Anthony. That's great. Thank you for that question. And then I think, have we got Scott, I think, with his hand up? I can physically see a hand up. If you want to unmute yourself there. Feel free to share your camera, James, as well, if you want, but it's fine for you to keep the
I can't. Probably fortunately for yourselves, but I can't. Yeah, unfortunately, I can't share it at the minute.
Oh, don't worry. Yes, Scott, over to you with your question.
I'm just going to turn my camera off because I'm not too keen on seeing my face. So
that's absolutely fine. No problem.
Okay. My question is, I actually have a disability. I have autism, and I'm just wondering, how would you sort of access these schemes if, say, for example, you have a problem sometimes, like comprehending the application process if you have a disability?
Yeah, no, it's a really good question, Scott. So the civil service is something called a disability confident leader. So this is a bit of a government sort of program where they really try and sort of accommodate any of those who do potentially have a disability of any variety. I think those with a disability, if I just go back to the application process, I think they can skip. I think they can choose to skip the first stage of the multiple choice online tests. And when it comes to all of the other stages, you can request that we make, you know, a change, and we'll always try to accommodate in the application process, you know, changes that we can make to make it more comfortable for yourself. And once you're in the job as well, you know, if you got onto the fast stream, they're more than willing to make any sort of reasonable adjustments, you know, based on whatever disability it is that you have.
Yeah. And that's a good answer. Just in relation, how do you actually do that when you're applying?
So I believe I think when you fill out the online application form, there will be an area within that where you can explain that that you have autism or you have whatever disability it is, and then from there someone should be in touch. You may just be told at that point that you don't have to do the multiple online tests, but then from there, as each of the other stages are sent over to yourself, there will be an option for you to get back in contact with them to request any sort of reasonable adjustments based on what you'd like.
Right. Oh, I do just have one more quick question, and it's kind of related to this. Let's say, for example, you start a master's with a university. How would you accommodate that when you're working in the job?
So I'm not 100% on that one. So I'm pretty certain that your work on the fast stream is going to be full-time. It's a full-time role. There are flexible working options, but I don't know how much you would be able to do both a full-time role, even flexibly, and a postgraduate degree. However, you do only need an undergraduate degree to apply, so it wouldn't be a requirement for you to have any postgraduate degree. On the flip side, if you're really keen and you do want to do the postgrad degree, definitely do it, and then you can still apply to the fast stream anyway. You can apply at any point, for the rest of your life, basically.
All right, that's good, because I think that's something I might do, because I'm kind of wanting to do a master's. Kind of for my own sort of like interest, as opposed to actually it being required, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, like I say, mate, if that's what you want to do, then do it. Don't not do it just because of us. So yeah, go and do it if that's what you want to do, and the fast stream will still be waiting here for you, so you can apply at any point. All
right, thank you very much for letting me know.
You're welcome.
Lovely, thanks, Scott. And also as well, you can get in touch with the careers team if you need any kind of support as well in terms of your application. So just remember that support's there as well. So I'm going to go over to the questions in the chat now. So Tony's been waiting patiently here, so she thinks she's the first question in. So Tony's asked, I think you may be able to see this as well, James, but do applicants need to be fully geographically flexible? And are working hours flexible in terms of working around home life? She's interested in project delivery, but would worry about the commitment involved in terms of relocation, travel and working hours.
So in terms of working hours, it is pretty flexible. So I have flexi time at the minute. So that essentially means that I can get off after like half a day in, or I can come in sort of half a day late, as long as you sort of make up the hours, in the long run. So you're doing, 40 hours a week, 37 hours a week, whatever it is. My job's pretty flexible. So for instance, this Friday, I'm only doing a half day. I'm getting off in the afternoon. So yeah, I think, you would easily be able to work it around, your home life, and many people do. I've worked with a number of colleagues in the passport office and in the Department for Health and Social Care who do have outside commitments. I have my manager, she chose to only work 4 days a week, for instance, so that fitted around her home life, and the civil service is really accommodating of that. With regards to geographical location, there is an expectation that you are flexible with your location, with where you are going to work. There are reasons why you can put a relocation restriction in place. So that would be things like care and responsibilities. You'd have to have a really good reason as to why you wouldn't be willing to relocate. Having said that, I'm now on to my second year in the fast stream. My first year, I was supposed to have moved to Leeds, but because of COVID, everyone's been working at home. And in my second posting, I'm in Liverpool, so I haven't had to relocate for that. I think as we move forward, with this move to sort of hybrid work and the way that we have seen that a lot of people can work from home, I think you'll see a lot more flexibility. I can't guarantee, but I think you will see a lot more flexibility from the fast stream moving forward, to allow people to be able to do their job from anywhere in the country, because we've shown it's possible. The only other thing I'd say is if you did have to move, there is something called a double commitment policy, which might apply to some people. So, for instance, if you rent somewhere, with like your partner or whatever, or you have a mortgage and you have to move, the fast stream require you to move somewhere, the fast stream will actually pay the rent and your bills in the area that you would have to move to instead. So you wouldn't find yourself out of pocket by having to pay the rent on the house and the rent in the place where you had to move to.
Oh, that's great. That's really good to know, isn't it? So hopefully that's helpful, Tony. Obviously, if there's anything else you want to ask on the back of that, feel free to pop it in and we can pick that up.
Can I just ask, is the care and responsibilities based around children, or is that elderly?
I don't think it matters. I don't think it's one or the other. I think as long as you can, if you can show that you have a significant caring responsibility, that that would mean that it would be unreasonable for you to move to Glasgow or London or somewhere, then I think the civil service would be accommodating of that. One other thing just to mention is that you do actually get to put preferences in. Now, there's no guarantee that any of those preferences will be acted upon, but you do get to put them in there, and where possible, they will try to accommodate that in terms of the location. So, for instance, for this year, I did put the Northwest as my location, and I got Liverpool. So yeah, that's another thing to add.
Right, okay. I just wouldn't want to really move my children somewhere else. I don't think it's fair to move them out of school.
No, and I fully agree.
Some people wouldn't see that as unreasonable. Some people would see that as fine. So it's difficult to kind of draw the line on it.
I fully agree with you.
I was looking at this summer diversity internship, and it's quite, because I'm 32 now, it seems really unfair that it's based on your parents' career so many years ago, because I'm actually really low income and a single parent, so I do struggle as it is. So it's a shame that there's not more opportunities out there.
Would you not?
For people.
I mean, obviously, don't want to go into like sort of your personal circumstances, but I don't know. You might still want to check it out, because depending on the criteria, you may still apply. So, for instance, my mum didn't work, and my dad is a postman, worked for Royal Mail, and postal work was one of the qualifying occupations that allowed you to go on it. And if you go on the site for it, you'll see it on the wider FastStream site. You'll see that there are a number of occupations that you might not initially think are the sort of things that would apply. So you might actually still be able to get involved in it. And if you can, I would definitely encourage you to do so.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Tony. Thanks, James. And then we've got Sophie as well. So Sophie's applied, and the next stage is the interview, which is really exciting. She was just wondering if you can give an idea of the types of questions that might be asked. I bet you've been asked this before. Can you give away the secrets?
So I can't give away the secrets, and I'm also, in some respects, not the best placed on the specific questions of the interview, because I did the summer diversity internship program. I was lucky enough to get to bypass the video interview stage. However, I've done other I've worked in the civil service before I got onto the FastStream, so I've done civil service interviews before. What I would recommend that you do is, if you go online, you can search for, I think it's the civil service success profiles and behaviours. If you go within there, you'll see the type of behaviours that you will be tested against. So it's things like delivering at pace, providing a quality service, stuff like that.
And I've just shared a link in the chat, actually, because I found it's a great page. It's actually on the FastStream main page, but it gives you all of the behavioural frameworks and all the things you'll be assessed against. So you may have actually already seen that, Sophie, I'm not sure, but if you then want to kind of chat to careers, we can help you kind of think about how to prepare for some of those scenarios as well.
I think the career service would be really good as well, because the types of behaviours that we're talking about are the same sort of things that you'd be asked across a number of different careers, in the interview process. So it's not unique just to the civil service. Take a look at those behaviours and skills. If you can, there'll be an area where you can see at the different levels within the civil service of those behaviours. For the FastStream, you want to be looking at something called HEO and SEO. So that's Higher Executive Officer and Senior Executive Officer. That's the sort of levels that you're going to be tested against in the application process. Only other thing I'd say is, for each of those behaviours, when you're trying to think of examples, when you're going to answer the question, is try and have more than one. So sometimes when it comes to the interview, you might have a really good example that you're going to use for the question, but then they ask you a question in such a way that you can't fit your example into it. So it's always good to have a bit of a backup, just in case that it might not be as good as the primary example that you've got, but if you've got something there that you can rely on, it's going to be better than trying to obviously shoehorn your example into a question that it might not specifically apply to.
Definitely, yeah. So a couple of examples for each behaviour you'd recommend there. That's
definitely.
Perfect. Okay, lovely. And then we've got a question from Bethany. So are the internships open for people who are completing a second undergrad if they fit the other criteria?
Oh, now that's a question I'm not. It's quite a niche question. I don't see why it wouldn't be. It's a tough one because you're still in the final 2 years of an undergraduate degree. So in that respect, I would argue it would be fine. I'd maybe just not crack on about having maybe the first one in some respects, and then once you've got it, you've got it. You'll have been on. But I couldn't attest to that with any certainty. I might have to take that away to see if people with a second undergraduate degree can do them. But yeah, I'll look into that.
Oh, lovely. Thank you, James. That's brilliant. And Amy Jade said, thank you, James. I was wondering whether you would advise applying for the fast stream straight out of uni, or whether it's better to gain some more experience first and then apply later.
It's everyone's different, aren't they? So like for me, I went to university later, but if I'd gone to university, at 18, qualified, graduated at 21, I probably wasn't in the right frame of mind to be applying to it, and I probably wouldn't have been successful. In fact, I'd probably almost certainly say, but that was me, just based on where I was in my life at the time. And so I think it is just a personal question. I've had experience in a number of roles because of I've worked in plenty of jobs before I went back to uni and stuff. I've worked all over the place really, and maybe that worked for me, but arguably the vast majority of people who get on the fast stream do come straight from uni. So in that respect, if you feel confident, then definitely go for it. But don't feel obliged to, and it won't be held against you if you decide not to do it straight out of uni. If you want to take a couple of years to go and do something else, do what you want to do, then that's fine. Like I say, you can come and apply at any point.
Yeah, absolutely. And any experience you have, that's a part-time job, or, and I think the good thing that I've seen about the civil service process is it's quite a skills-based and behavioural-based assessment process as well. So, whether you are just straight from uni or you've got experience, hopefully it's kind of looking for the right fit and the right person, isn't it?
So true. Yeah, so true. It's not like one of these jobs where you need to have already had 5 years experience in the field. You can come with having never worked in your life if you want to. And if you're the right person, you'll still get through.
Yeah, amazing. Lovely. Thank you. Brilliant. Okay, so I'm just catching up some of these. So I think we've got, Claire has asked, do you know much about the success profiles framework that the civil service abides by? But I think we found the links in there and we share them in the chat. So, but Claire, please do shout up if not. Go ahead, sorry, James.
No, I was just going to say, so, we've already spoken about the profiles. Have a look at them. Don't try and make it obvious, when you're answering questions, or maybe when you're filling out online applications, don't take the wording from the success profiles verbatim, but try and think of things, try and almost use it like a little bit of a tick box exercise and see how many of those that you can tick off with your example or whatever. And because that's all that the assessor's going to be doing really. They're going to be looking at the same sort of thing. So if you can be really clear about how you're meeting it at the required level, then you don't have too much to worry about. There's something, I don't know if you've already heard of it, but there's something called the STAR model.
Yes, we talk about that a lot.
I'm sure the careers advisors, the careers team will be going through that. So we're really big on using the STAR model when we're writing out like competencies and responding to questions and things. So take a look at that if you haven't already.
Amazing, lovely, that's great to know. Perfect. We've got Chantel next as well. So hi James, thank you for a really informative presentation. I'm in my final year. Would you suggest applying for STIP this year, and hopefully if I'm successful, applying for the fast stream next year?
I mean, it's a question of it being up to you, isn't it? If it was me, I'd probably go for the STIP, purely because of it was a really beneficial experience for me. I really enjoyed it. So it was 2.5 months over the summer, and then like I say, getting that fast pass, it just means that it reduces your chances of potentially just having an off day on one of the earlier things, falling short, and then having to wait for another year. On the flip side though, if you only do the STIP and then wait a year to do the actual fast stream application process, that's potentially a full year of being full-time if you were successful first time around, full-time wages, getting that experience. So I think it's really up to you.
Yeah.
But I'm always going to be an advocate for the diversity internship program.
Yeah, and that sounds great to me. I think if you can, because also it gives you the experience, doesn't it, as well? Actually, is it for you? So they get to see you, you get to see civil service, and actually then if you like it, you get a straight, like you say, the fast pass through a lot of the process. It does sound really good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just to remind everybody as well, the brilliant careers advisors are putting loads of great useful links in the chat as well. So make sure you kind of take those away with you. Oren, we have next. So thank you, James, for the presentation. The one question I have is whether there is any point in beginning the application process for the development programme if you intend to apply for the STIP, or rather wait to complete that programme and get the fast pass. I think this is pretty much the same as the previous question, sorry. So yeah, Oren, it is. So yeah, I suppose it's personal, isn't it? But you know, your choice. I suppose that there's a slightly different slant to it though. Could you apply for the fast stream and the STIP at the same time?
I think you can, yeah. So I think you can.
Yeah.
Being successful in one doesn't automatically, you know, well, being successful in one does probably stop you from getting on the other, but there's nothing to stop you from applying for both. No, absolutely not. And you know, if they're both going well, then you know, you can take that choice at a later point.
Yeah.
Then, you know, and it's probably good to have that choice, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
So,
oh, that'd be a great position to be in, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely lovely. And then we've got Lorraine. So, hi James, thank you for an interesting, informative presentation. Having recently graduated with an MSc, could you advise what roles might be available through the science and engineering fast stream route, please? Having 30 plus years work experience, whether this is the best route to pursue, or is it a direct application the best option?
Oh, I mean, so many questions there. So in terms of the science and engineering, the science programs, I'm probably not the best person to know about that. It's quite niche, and I'm probably not smart enough to get anywhere near that sort of stuff. What I do, I'll take that away and I'll try and find out from someone who is on that and the type of roles that they're being offered and the type of roles that you could do within that. Presume it could be anything, you know. I mean, for instance, you know, the Department for Health and Social Care, you know, obviously that's going to have a lot of roles related to science. You know, the NHS potentially, we work very closely with. So I can imagine that there's a lot there. But yeah, there's probably so many that I'm just not even scratching the surface with it. So I'll take that away and I'll try and come back with a bit more clarity on it.
Brilliant.
In terms of the question about whether it was worth applying for the fast stream or whether you just go through direct entry, I think it really relates to what sort of level of experience that you've built up in those sort of 30 years. You know, if you've got 30 years of, you know, of experience of being like a bit of a senior manager already, then perhaps the direct entry route might be the best for you. You know, maybe you don't need those 3 years of leadership development experience. You might have that already, you know, done and dusted. However, if you maybe haven't got that, the fast stream is always good because it is this accelerated sort of leadership program. So whereas if you applied through the direct entry, it might take you a little bit longer to get to the same stage that you would get in the fast stream, just because of that. There's that certainty that as long as you meet the requirements asked for, that you will get to a pretty senior level after 3 years or so.
Absolutely, that's great, thank you. And I can see Scott's got his hand up. I'm just going to go to Abby for the final chat question, I think. So Abby has just asked, when do fast stream schemes start within the year? So when would you expect to start if you were successful? Yep,
so there's 2 intakes every year, start of September and the start of October. So I was an October starter, and hence why I've just started my new role in the passport office. So the applications for the fast stream and the STIP close on the 22nd of October. The EDIP is open a bit longer, closes on the 19th of November. From there, the actual application process would take sort of place over winter. People start to find out whether they've got it sort of in the new year, start of spring, and then from there you just begin all the preparations to onboard in either September or October.
Brilliant. And I would say anybody on this meeting who does apply, do let the careers team know if you're successful as well. We'd love to know if you manage to get in through the 60,000 applications that kind of come in.
Definitely.
Lovely. And then Scott, I can see you've got your hand up if you want to ask your next question.
All right, sorry to answer the question. It was just something that came to my mind. I mean, obviously you can't do it through the fast stream, but for example, can you apply for is there any part-time roles within the civil service if you can't commit to a full-time, role at the time?
Yeah, there's loads, mate. So when I was in uni, I actually, because I knew I wanted to go into the fast stream, I actually started looking at civil service roles just so I could get my foot in the door, get a bit of experience about what it was like. So I worked in part-time roles during my final 2 years at uni. And yeah, I would work part-time. So in one of the jobs, I would work on the days that I wasn't in uni, and then in the other job, I would work in the evenings. So I'd like finish uni at 5, walk down to the waterfront in Liverpool, and I would do a 4-hour shift in the evening. So I was doing around 20 hours a week in both of those jobs. But yeah, loads of opportunity for part-time, flexible work and things like that. Just if you're thinking about it, just have a little look on the civil service jobs website, and you'll see just the wide variety of roles that you can do part-time.
I know that actually one of my colleagues actually shared some roles this morning that the DWP have put on the civil service jobs website. So I think some admin-based roles and some other roles, I think some in Liverpool, some in Blackpool, and I think you can apply to do them on a part-time basis. So definitely worth having a look.
I worked for DWP, and I applied. It was, I think the roles that they wanted were full-time. When I was successful in getting the job, I then just explained to them that I was looking to work part-time, and they were really accommodating. So if that's something you're thinking about doing, go for it.
All right. Just one thing I've just remembered. It's actually a very basic question. If you've got like a media degree, what sort of thing does like media come under the like categories?
So with a media degree, you could apply for quite a lot of the schemes. So there are some schemes that you wouldn't be able to apply for with that degree, but we're talking things like the statistics ones, probably stuff like that. I think you need like certain degrees for that. The science one is another prime example. You need a STEM related subject. In terms of the actual work that might be related to media stuff, every department has a comms team, has a communications team. So that might be the sort of stuff that you'd maybe could get involved in. Content creation teams, so people working on social media, government websites, things like that. So there's a wide variety of roles, even for those with a media background. All
right, thank you for letting me.
No worries, mate.
Thanks, Scott. And then I think we've also got Naomi with a hand up as well.
Hi, I'm currently I'm in my 3rd year of a law degree, and I want to go into environmental law, but I have no experience in it, and it's not taught by the uni. So, like, do I need to get experience before applying to like the civil service and stuff, or can I just go in without really anything other than attending a few workshops and reading some textbooks?
So you're saying about you want to get into environmental law?
Yeah.
So basically, you can apply to the fast stream with just the degree that you're doing now. It doesn't need to be specific to environmental law, corporate law, whatever. So yeah, no, it doesn't matter. So if you want to get that experience in environmental law, then that'd be great. I don't know.
Do that within like my work.
So obviously, you don't get to choose the department as such. You get to put preferences forward, but you don't get to pick the specific role. But if you were thinking about a career in environmental law, we've got DEFRA, so the Department of the Environment, Farming and Rural Affairs within the civil service, and they're going to be sort of really hot on environmental issues now over the coming years. So you might not get that placement as part of your fast stream experience, but upon finishing that and being a senior leader, if you have that sort of passion, a law background and the necessary skills, then I don't see any reason why you wouldn't potentially be able to apply and go for a job in that field.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. I think if just before we go, I just really want to encourage people to apply. I want more people from the likes of Edge Hill getting involved. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's great to hear. It's really, really encouraging, and it was really good actually, James, as well, for you to share your story as well with everybody, I think, and kind of your experience, and everybody's got different kind of experiences, and obviously it is a lot of the stuff is down to suit individuals, so it is kind of down to them to make those choices. But I think just hearing all the different routes and options, it is doable. The fast stream can seem daunting because it is so competitive. However, things like the STIP, things like really knowing the process and getting the advice from the careers team as well to help you, it is definitely doable. So I don't think everyone's been really thankful for your time. So it's been really, really informative, is the overall view. Great succinct and detailed talk. Yes, absolutely. We will definitely have you back, I'm sure.
Too kind. Yeah.
But thank you from all of us here, for your time and all the content and the as much kind of tips and advice as you can give without giving away all of the secrets has been really, really useful.
Yeah, of course. One last thing I'd like to say is just you've got my my email address. If anyone has got like any sort of burning questions or would like any support, feel free to pass that on to them. And I'm more than happy to to help people out where I can.
Brilliant. I was going to say, if you're on LinkedIn, I don't know if you are, James, but you could pop your LinkedIn URL if you want in the chat. I can keep it open for obviously a couple of minutes if you're able to.
Yeah.
I don't know if
I'll try and get that up.
I know you were having technical issues with your moving departments, but just thinking that's often like a really good way and something that we'd encourage our students to use. So I'll just give a couple of minutes for that, and if there are any final mentions as well.
I've got to write it in manually, so give me a moment.
That's all right. We will give you some time. That's all right. Don't worry.
Let's see.
Yeah, and absolutely to anybody kind of on the session, please utilize LinkedIn. Absolutely. I have got James's email address, so because he's been so kind to, I will share that obviously with all the attendees as well. But and as Debbie's added from the careers team, if you haven't already created a LinkedIn profile, it takes minutes to get up and running. And again, it's something the careers team can help with. I think we've got sessions coming up actually on creating a LinkedIn profile and how to use it. So yes, Claire, attend one of our LinkedIn workshops or watch the video on the website. Perfect. Thank you, James. That's brilliant.
Let me know if that is.
We should have that.
Let me know if that doesn't work, and if so, I'll ping it across to yourself, Kate, and then I'm sure you could disseminate it to the attendees.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, and Lorraine just said we could pass on any information regarding the science roles. That would be much appreciated as well. And I would say, from looking myself, the Fast Stream website is also really, really comprehensive as well, isn't it? It's got loads of information on there as well. So if you haven't looked already, obviously head over there and have a good look. But thank you very much, James. That's been absolutely wonderful, and really, really appreciate it. It's been brilliant.
Oh no, thank you for having me. And love to get involved with yourselves again in the future.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Thank you so much. And take care, everyone. Thank you for coming along.
Take care, guys. See you later.
Bye.